always feel like I'm not in the middle. So I use this camera when I'm out doing sessions too, and then I put it back on, and I never get it quite the way I feel. Like I'm always a little askew. I just put this back on. I don't think it's right, but I'm not going to mess around with it now. So if I look weirder than normal, probably why. Hey, how are you? Welcome to the Big Shoe. Getting towards the end of the year. Sipping on some water. How you doing? How you making out? Doing all right? Been thinking about you. You know, I'm here for you. So, I'm almost done. I got just like one session left for the rest of the year. It's not till after Christmas. It's not a Christmas thing. Just had a session last weekend. Today I was running around ready getting food for Christmas. I still have some Christmas shopping to do. I'm a very bad gift buyer. I'm the worst. I never know what to get anybody. I like panic freeze because I'm like, and before you know it, it's like a week to Christmas. So I got to get rolling on that front. And speaking of gifts, I have to say, I'm just a little disappointed in you. I'm just a little disappointed. I haven't gotten your present yet. Just saying. So you better get on that. So welcome to the show today. Another interesting kind of topic to chat about. It's a question I get once in a while from clients or from inquiries or from wherever. So we're going to be talking a bit today about an interesting kind of subject in boudoir photography. I don't know how much I have to say about this, but you know me, once I get talking, we'll be sort of going and going and going. And if you're new to the show, my name is Michael. I'm a women's photographer from New Jersey. Worked with hundreds and hundreds of women over the course of my career. And we're here to answer questions about boudoir photography because you think it's simple and straightforward. Just go into the Google machine and type photographer and there you go, but it's anything but that. So if you ever listen to a few episodes of this show, you'll see that there's a lot more work involved in choosing your photographer than you may initially think. Because Google doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. Google doesn't know those listings if anybody's crazy, if anybody actually has any experience, if anybody of those photographers have actually any technical skills, blah, blah, blah. They don't know. They're just giving you a list of names of people who refer to themselves as pros. So, you know, there's a lot more work that has to go into selecting a photographer than you may initially think when you get out there and start doing it. So that's why we're here, to help you out, because we want you to have a good experience, have fun, and ultimately look back and have photos that you enjoy and look back and think, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I looked good, had a good time. And that's what it's all about. And it's just not as simple or straightforward as you may think it is. It's a mess out there in the world of women's photography. So just trying to help you out just a little bit to do that. So thanks for stopping by. If you're new to the show, last week was, again, sort of an interesting show. If you got a few extra minutes, you go listen to that one. It's about how I faked a couple's boudoir shoot. I did it. Kind of was a spur of the moment idea. Came up with a client. Wasn't perfect, but we did it. So if you're interested in hearing about that, that's what we talked about last week. And this week, have a little bit of, again, sort of an interesting topic. And it's the question for this week is, can a man really be a good boudoir photographer? He's a man. How could you go to a man? How could a man do boudoir photography? So we're going to chat about that a little bit this week. And just briefly, yes, men could be very good boudoir photographers. You know, so this is a question that's full of a lot of perceptions and comfort and challenges and advantages and disadvantages. And it's one of those things where, again, there isn't a right or wrong answer. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. And, you know, back when I started to do photography I lacked the benefits of age and wisdom to know that I wasn't supposed to be doing what I was doing. I just kind of enjoyed it. It was something I thought, wow, people seem interested in this. I want to become really good at it. And I just kind of did my thing. I wasn't looking around to see what anybody else thought or what anybody else was doing. And by the time I got rolling and, internet and photography started to become more popular on the internet, and you look around and you see like 99% of all boudoir photographers are women. And people are like, you're a man. How could you be a man and do this? I don't know. Somehow I made it through. Somehow I did it. And here we is. So that's what we're going to be chatting a little bit about today. Can men really do this? Can you go to a man boudoir photographer? And it's interesting, like a little side note that just kind of like popped into my head, like the discrimination. And, once in a while, I remember even being rejected. I think it was in articles, it was going on other podcasts where they wanted to talk about, brides getting married and photographers and how I don't remember how I got involved with this, and the people who ran the show, these bridal shows, which I've been on a couple of them, but she wrote back like, you're a man. How could you know anything about bridal boudoir photography? And that's pretty ignorant, but that's kind of like the sentiment out there that if you're a man, you can't possibly know what you're doing. You can't be good at this. You don't understand. And, I would challenge all these people who say that to maybe stick in a couple of other words in there. Could you do this? You couldn't be president because you're a woman. You couldn't do this because you're a woman. Would that make you sound like super intelligent by saying something? You could never be the CEO of a company because you're a woman. Does that make you sound a little bit maybe kind of crazy? So I always wondered, when I heard that from people, it's just these people who think they're so intellectual and so forth. It just always like sort of puzzled me that this is their, not only what they were thinking in their heads, but that what they would say out loud. So we're going to get into this kind of a little bit, talk about why maybe there aren't so many men in boudoir photography, and can you really go to a guy and have good results and have a good time. So, and then usually what the interesting thing, and I've chatted with this with some of my friends, and I've even chatted about this sort of on podcasts and stuff like that, is that when it comes to men photographing women, if you look into the field of like model photography, and you see my air quotes in there when I'm talking about model photographers, basically these guys who want to get like 19-year-old women into their basements and take photo of them in bathing suits or underwear because they're model photographers. It's pretty much all guys, right? Used to go on a billion years ago to like sites like Model Mayhem or these other photo sites that were similar, and then it would just be all guys in this kind of work. And really the opposite, probably no or one or two women who did this. And then what's interesting thing is you make that transition and not for a model photography, go to boudoir photography, and it like flips. It's like 97% women and maybe 3% guys or possibly even less. So what happens there? What happens from boudoir or from model photography to boudoir, and the sudden absence of men and all these women who go from one to the other? And there's a couple things there that I've always thought about that could be the reason for this. And part of it has to do with guys. Actually, a lot of it has to do with guys and their brains and the way they think and the way they approach things and just how they are in general. And part of it has to do with, there's a big difference between boudoir photography and, say, like model photography or glamour photography. When the guy is dragging the 19-year-old woman into his basement, hey, stand a little over there, yeah. It's pretty much at that part about, sexuality. That's what the guy is thinking. That's what the photos are about. And, that's the emphasis on that. And then boudoir is very, very different. In the boudoir photography universe, it's about beauty. And it may seem like a small, but it's a big difference in how a photo looks, how a photo feels, the way the photographer approaches the whole situation. Boudoir is about making women look beautiful, pretty, cute, smiling, sometimes dramatic, but you get my idea. And men somehow can't seem to make that small but important change because they're thinking about her body. I gotta think her body, and this is, they can't like flip that switch in their brain. Maybe they don't want to kind of just like change how the feel of their work or so forth. So I always think that is kind of part of it, and that women's or men's brains just focus a little bit differently when they see women like that. They're like, it's got to tune your frequency a little bit different and approach the whole situation a little bit different. And maybe it's just they don't want to. That's probably very likely, or they can't, or they don't see that difference, and not maybe a lot of people can. I think that has a big part to do with this, is that men and women are on different wavelengths there, and then men just can't change that dial. They can't like tune into that new station and their radio dial and just see things or a little bit differently. They have a hard time doing that, and that's part of the reason, because women coming in to do boudoir, it's not about some guy going, yeah, because that just like freaks women out. It's not what it's all about. And these guys are just not going to be successful and grow a business, but they can't reframe themselves into looking into or turning and seeing photography a little bit differently. So I think that's part of why. I think there's another part of it that's kind of related to that, where women may be hesitant in a certain way of coming in and working with men again, because they're thinking he's like a creepy guy. He's a creepy guy. He's a boudoir photographer. He just wants to get women in there because he's a creepy guy. I think that's definitely part of it as well. And also I think that when it comes to women's photography, boudoir is for everybody. And one difference too is that when I'm often have a new session or on a day, there's a big chance I never know who's coming and walking through that door. It could be a 25-year-old woman. It could be a 55-year-old woman. It could be someone that's in shape. It could be someone that's not in shape, had a couple of kids or whatever. It's a whole range of people all want to come in and have that boudoir experience. And I think for guys too, they're thinking, yes, I just want this kind of like ideal type of person. I'm not interested in taking pictures of someone who's 45 years old and has a couple of kids. I want the 19-year-old. And that's just not women's photography. That's not boudoir photography. I mean, the range of styles and ages and races and sizes and is such a wide group of people that come in. It's a diverse group that come in, and I enjoy and always have with working with all kinds of people. I think they need to go through this experience. It's fun for everybody, and have a good time, and you make everybody sort of look beautiful. And for a lot of men, that's not what they want to do. Honest with you, they have like no interest, like I said, in having a 45-year-old woman come in who's had a couple of kids and maybe isn't in perfect shape or whatever. To them, that's not what they're interested in doing. They just want the 19-year-old. So I think that's also why another reason that maybe men don't excel in boudoir photography is just because a lot of people can't, again, understand what boudoir photography is all about. But the interesting part to this, as it goes a bit deeper and working with lots and lots of women, is that interesting things have like emerged. Because when you're like with somebody for a couple hours and chatting with them the whole time, and you're talking with people, and you used to talk with, why'd you choose me, or why did you come in and work with me? Surprisingly, what I've heard over the years is that there's a very large group of women who feel more confident or comfortable expressing themselves in front of a guy. I don't have a great explanation why, but I've heard, and again, sort of unsolicited ways that, especially because boudoir has changed so much over the 10 years, and now it tends to be a bit more like sexual in nature than it used to. There's a lot of women who are, I guess, just are more comfortable expressing themselves that way in front of a man. They don't want to, I hate to say the word behave, but take photos like that in front of a woman. They say they would feel awkward. They'd rather do this with a guy. And, that was always interesting to me, but it was something that came up over and over and over. Yeah, there's a lot of women up there. I really feel comfortable. I don't want to do this or have a session like this in front of a woman. And I think what I've heard too is that they feel, and maybe this goes into the customer's mind as well, that sometimes they feel judgy by female photographers. I've heard that too. Like, she's judging me, or she's looking at me, and they say, like, seen the opposite. Guys don't do that, saying, I don't feel like this pressure in front of a man that I need to be perfect. And, that's just what I've heard. That's something it's hard for me to say if that's right or wrong. This is something I've heard from clients. And as I noted before, especially like when boudoir was very, very different 10 or 12 years ago, than it is now. Water break. It was more, like I said, laying on the bed and very beautifully. And then women wanted to start doing poses that were more and more suggestive. And I noted, I've often been told they're a lot more comfortable doing that stuff in front of me and then a woman. And then, interestingly, and also what I've heard over the years quite a few times, is that predominantly, as we've talked about again in a couple episodes ago, most of these sessions are gifts for men. And I've heard time and time again that these women thought, because I was a guy, I would have better insight into like a man's point of view to get images that another guy would enjoy. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, you're a guy, you'll know what other guys like too. Guys want this kind of photo or this kind of photo or this kind of photo. And I'm not saying in every case, but that was also an interesting thing that I've heard again over the years. I wanted to come in with you for my husband. You'd kind of know what kind of stuff guys would sort of enjoy. So those are a couple reasons why I think, aside from technical excellence or experience or so forth, just maybe some reasons why I've heard over the years that women may prefer a man as their photographer. And on the kind of opposite side of that, for people who, again, there's a group of women who just want to work with a woman, and that's fine. They may feel more comfortable, going in that way. That's okay too. And I think, again, what is a very kind of a poor mental thought choice, I don't know how else to put this, is just that assuming just because someone is a woman, they'll automatically be very talented as a boudoir photographer. This is incredibly false. And I could give you thousands of reasons why there are so many bad women boudoir photographers out there, but somehow they feel, she's a woman, she'll understand beauty, she's going to be wonderful. That's not the case at all. Again, that's very kind of a sexist kind of a thing to say. Just because someone's a woman doesn't mean they're going to be a great boudoir photographer, but that's a pretty bad assumption. But hey, that's a reason why someone may think that they want to work with a woman, and hey, knock yourself out. Just as there are, bad women photographers. There are really good men photographers in boudoir, and I've seen them out there. So a little bit of a strange thing to think, but you should always judge a photographer on their skills, professionalism, like on their portfolio over their gender. You would think that would not be a primary reason you would come in to see or to work with somebody, but you really have to get over this idea that just because someone's a woman, they know what they're doing. They're so competent. They're such a professional. They're so good at this, which is really kind of going to cause you probably not to have a great experience if you wind up in the hands of the wrong. It's like assuming that all pizza restaurants are great just because it's run by an Italian guy or something like that. That's not necessarily the case. Then, there are certainly challenges that male photographers face as well. I think now that men entering boudoir photography definitely do have more barriers to overcome to get into the field, and as I noted before, and it's just this because of this, there are so many women in it, so it's just like this groupthink that's women that therefore have to go with the women. These men are the outliers, so you start at a little bit of a disadvantage there, and not because you're worse, but because they look around and they say woman, 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 and you're just like one guy out of 100 that stands out somewhere. Oh, he can't be good. So getting involved in boudoir photography is tougher, I think, for guys, just because this perceived like the men are not so good when that's not the case. This kind of like groupthink that goes on among women that men can't possibly be good, because that's why there's all women out there. It's just like, again, one of the really super weird things about boudoir photography. I always talk about how weird this whole universe is. That's a weird thing about it, but it is trickier to get into that as a guy. And like I said, I was just blissfully unaware that I shouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. Like, I just never poked my head up and looked around, and I was going, and I was like, oh, yeah, there's not really too many guys out here, is there? But I was having fun. I was doing what I could do. Men can certainly do this, without a problem. It's just a bit more of a struggle to get started, because you just have to get through that weird perception that you can't do this because you're a man. Like somehow women have magical abilities to operate a camera just because they're a woman and the other person's a woman, which is just really, again, not super accurate thinking. And, men also have to be very professional. You have to be very aware of your boundaries. I just think you need to have this sort of comforting personality where people feel comfortable around you, and they're like, okay, yeah, I feel relaxed and doing these kind of photos I want to do. And then men, they just need to earn that trust, which takes a while. And I think that's just not only from clients, I think it's just from other photographers and so within the industry. So it definitely is a little bit harder for men, and they do face more challenges in here, but you should keep going, let your work and your professionalism, stand for itself, and you can break out in doing that. Men certainly can be great boudoir photographers. And as I noted earlier, I think that men definitely offer a little bit different perspective on beauty and confidence. And I think there's a lot of women that find that refreshing, as I noted earlier. They're interested in a man's perspective because they're giving these to guys, and they're kind of like, is he going to like this? You think he would like this or this? And I think that's more helpful than people realize. Talking about like that, and as I said, you're a guy, so you know what guys like. And if you are a man, and what this is about, women making women feel great about themselves, regardless, as I noted, of their body type and who they are and what they look like, and you just genuinely want to make people feel good about themselves coming in. Like, I have a great time when someone comes in. I just still like want to make that person feel great about themselves and produce the best photos. I still have a fun time doing this. And I think if you have that in you, I don't know exactly how to put my finger down on what that is, but you're just like, yes, I want to make you feel good. I want to make you have great photos. If you have that aspect of the person, that you could be a really good women's photographer. And as I noted, it has changed a lot. Women's photography has changed a lot. And I think more so than decade, 15 years ago, women now are a lot more comfortable in producing certain kinds of content in front of men that maybe they wouldn't have a decade ago. I think that, is another reason why men can excel in this field in doing that. And it's just overcoming that weird perceptual barrier out there that you can't. Everybody else is a woman. So, short of it is, men can absolutely 100% be great boudoir photographers. It's just that universe of boudoir photography is tough to kind of break through. There's a lot of these kind of underlying beliefs that you can only be a woman. Only women see the true beauty in other women, which is a bunch of nonsense, like I said, because a lot of these women photographers are like just fish flapping around there, not even knowing what the heck they're doing. They're interested in changing lives. I'm changing lives. I know women are all beaten down. Women are, a lot of them are wrapped up in this fixer thing. I got to fix what they see. All women is broken. I got to fix you. Every woman is damaged, and I will put you back together. And they don't get that. That's not what women want. They want an anniversary gift. Women are doing good. And I think also that's a part of it too. They come in to see a guy and they're not going to get a bunch of therapy, which goes on with a lot of women's photographers. And they don't want to deal with that. And these photographers don't want to hear it because they think that, they have their photographer role, but they want it to make themselves so much more. I'm a healer. I fix trauma. I'm dealing with a lot of serious situations. Trauma. They have this view of everybody broken and damaged, and, they're just really alienating their own customer base with that. And so this is a good time to be a man in boudoir photography, because not all, but many of these women have kind of like, they've just gone off the radar into some weird zone, and you could swoop right in there and say, here I am, do some cute photos, no therapy, get a great gift, come through, have some fun, and let them go, and these women photographers just all open the door and let them pirouette out onto the street with all of their fixer stuff. So there's an avenue for men out there who can see and take advantage of that, and you can certainly be a great boudoir photographer, even though the field is certainly mostly dominated by women, as I said. So, curious what your thoughts are on this. How I feel. I managed. I made it through. I did it. So I think that other people can too. And ultimately, whether someone coming in chooses a man or a woman, there's not a right or wrong answer. And everybody has sort of it's like going into the ice cream store. There isn't one best flavor. You just want to make sure that you're going as real ice cream and not this chemical crap that's going to kill you. And everybody has their preference, their comfort level, what they want to do. And men can excel just as easily as a woman can in this business. Men can be very excellent photographers. I know men who are very excellent women's photographers. And so that's certainly possible. And women clients often are looking for an interesting perspective on their photos and feel comfortable with men now and want to come in. Like I said, that they feel men will know best what their husbands or boyfriends will like in the photos and in a gift, and appreciate that insight in their sessions. So, yeah, men can do it. So, if you're near a guy in the area and he's been around for a while, highly skilled, and because men, if they're not treating their customers right, they're not going to last. So if someone's been around for a while, odds are they're doing a good job. And as I always say, call them up, have a chat, see how you feel comfortable with the person. You can even have multiple consultations And, so I would always tell you, yeah, you can go in and see a man photographer, but ultimately, what my brain thinks I would choose based on skill and style and the quality of work that they do. Of course, person's sex is a factor somewhere into the equation, but I don't think that should necessarily be the primary reason why you choose somebody as a photographer. So those are my thoughts and insights on that topic, and for what it's worth. And I appreciate that question this week, and hopefully you got some insight there as far as male boudoir photographers. And that's it. And I don't know, we're going to be doing a show next week, because usually I record on Thursdays. Thursday Christmas? No, Thursday's not Christmas. So maybe we'll have a show next week. I don't even know what day it is. So until then, next time I'll be speaking to you probably will be after Christmas. So happy holidays. Enjoy your holiday season, Christmas Eve, Christmas. For those of you who are giving boudoir gifts this year, your husband or boyfriend is going to love it. Great time. And that's all I got for you. That's all I got for you this week. So talk to you on the next show. Thanks for stopping by again. And bye-bye.